Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org, where over 60,000 shows have been watched. On YouTube, NTNM will be the gateway to take you to YouTube. So check it out. If you'd like to be on the show mailing list, by the way, you can always send us an email. It's avy@ureach.com. Feel free. I'd be more than happy to put you on the weekly email list for the TV show. Community policing, we're very big on that. At this point, I don't even know if I'm still there or not. They actually had elections, and thank God Sonny has beaten the forces of evil by a vote of 8-5. So he is now for 2 years at least, he's the beat rep in 2413. I did hear a number of districts didn't have elections. Not happy about the ones here, because I never really wanted to get into it for political reasons. But maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm not going to worry about it. There's more important things in life. But what is important is that you do interact with the police department directly, face-to-face, on the phone. Don't go to the message boards. Don't do these other silly things. If something happens, you want to notify the police and you want to be in direct communication with them. It's the best way to do things. And to find out all the community policing meetings in Rogers Park, in West Rogers Park, go to caps24.org. And at this point, it is my pleasure to have the person who actually can be held responsible and might be a felony violation for starting the show in the first place, the person whose idea it was when he was president of the Northtown Community Council. He's now the president of the West Ridge Community Council, as well as a lawyer and all-around ne'er-do-well within the city, a member of the SSA. We're talking about Michael C. Moses. Michael C., how you doing?
I'm doing out. Congratulations, Sonny. Congratulations. I'll talk about the West Ridge Community Council in a second, but glad to be here. And I thought I'd stop by. I really haven't been on for a little while to talk about the political going-ons in the 50th Ward.
Oh, there's politics going on in the 50th Ward?
Well, there's always politics going on in the 50th Ward.
Yeah, every second of every day.
Every second of every day, and whether you know it or not, or whether I know it or not. But I'd like to talk about the committeeman, Ira Silverstein. As we all know, last November was the general election, and there wasn't really that much work done by the committeeman. This doesn't mean that people even know it. Again, people may not have noticed.
Many polling places were unattended.
Well, many polling places were unattended. I'd say only about 10 or 12 of the precincts had signs. And again, signs are just to remind people who's on the ballot. You don't have the straight ticket.
But if you have political workers, they're out there putting out signs for people, and that wasn't the case this time.
It wasn't the case, and
even the places where you had people, doesn't seem like there was very many people.
No, there. And you go by now. And again, what I'm going to say is just, analysis or opinion or what I heard. Before November, when the people from the unions were coming up here to work, because there was nobody here working, and there's, and you can't blame Ira for that, because in most wards they don't have people anymore, and that's just the way it is. But when they would come up, they said they want to know if we had heard about the rumor that Jan was going to go to Washington and that she would support Ira for Congress. And in fact, right now we're in the middle of that 5th congressional race, and really not that much is going on. I think one of the reasons why is because no one was prepared for a race in the 5th congressional district. I think most of the people involved in politics believed that there'd be an open seat in the 9th congressional district, that either Jan would be appointed U.S. Senator or she'd go and work in the Obama's campaign. But it didn't work out that way, and I think you could see in the 5th, you have so many people, but it's nothing really is caught on. In the 9th congressional race, people were getting ready to run for Congress. The rumor that I was told and others were told is that there was a deal set between Jan and Ira. Whether they'd kept the deal or not, who knows?
Jan Schakowsky and Ira Silverstein. Of course, and by the way, I heard the same rumor from more than one source.
Right, that Jan would go to Washington, she would endorse Ira for Congress. And then Ira would look to her for the next, who should be the next alderman in the 50th Ward. And everyone heard that, and it wasn't a bad deal for Ira. But then when you take that into account, then what happened in the 50th Ward in the November election makes a little more sense. He wasn't planning on being the committeeman much longer past March of 2009 or April 2009, whatever the election was. And of course, let me just say this, as I always say when we talk about people, I'm sure I was more than well can come on this show and say this is not true, or Jan could say this is not true. Or then call me
Jan
up.
and Ira, you're both always welcome, you know that.
Right. So, and that's why Ira was in Ohio or Pennsylvania working for Obama for his credentials. This is not a bad plan between Ira and Jan. I know I talked like first names, like we talk. Ira and I never talk, Jan and I never talk, but people know I think who I'm talking about. Now, how did that go along with the deal we read in the papers? Again, I wasn't at the conversation between Mayor Daley and Ira, where Ira went to Daley and said, you know, Alderman Stone can't win next time. I have to be committeeman to build up the organization so that someone like Nazy can't win. Maybe
Nazy Dolar, who has left.
Who has left. But I think it was Nazy or someone like her who Jan did
And she
endorse.
left the state.
Left the state. Well, fine. I wish her the best of luck. And now maybe there was another part of the conversation that was not made public where they said, we'll have to ask Jan who that person should be. Now, whether Ira, after winning for Congress, and he might have won, with Jan's support from Evanston, and Ira's from the 50th Ward, I'm sure Lou Lang would help Ira from Niles Township.
Oh, he'd help him plenty.
He'd help
no
plenty.
question.
Yeah, so it was not a bad plan. I remember like the A team at the end. He loves it when a plan comes together. That was the final signature. It wasn't, but that explains a lot why nothing was getting done in the 50th Ward. Unfortunately, for Ira, Jan did not go to Washington. She decided, for whatever reason, to stay here and be the congressman. So now Ira's a committeeman, and we'll have to see what happens. And one other thing, which I tend to believe that story that was being told is true, is that between Christmas and New Year's, I received this pamphlet from Ira Silverstein. I don't think he sent out a pamphlet before the election.
No, as a matter of fact, nothing was sent out. He was running for re-election to the Senate, granted unopposed, but he did not send that's state stuff. That's stuff the state pays for. It's free stuff. It's always sent out before an election because that's kind of like a freebie to be able to get your name out. So if you're going to send it out, you send it out before the election, even if you're running unopposed. You want people to know who you were. Right.
So, and the first sentence talks about the hope this gets there before the first of the new year. So there's no doubt he knew when it was being sent out. And instead of looking at this,
it had to go out. It had to go out during the year 2008 because that's the way the funding from the state works.
Right. But what I'm saying is that this was not the last piece of 2008. If he was running for Congress, this would be the first piece for the congressional campaign.
Right, even though it's a state franking piece, it's legal and it can be done.
I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm just saying this when I got this between Christmas and New Year's, because everyone knows you send a lot of literature out between Christmas and New Year's. Of course, it's not true.
And the time.
Okay, is that because who's looking at it? But this is
nobody puts out stuff after an election.
Right. Well, no one puts out stuff between Christmas and New Year's.
No.
Even if the primary's in February or March, everyone knows between, let's say, December 15th and January 5th, you don't send out any literature, because no one's going to read it. So when I saw this, I said, you know what? That is true. This is the first piece in the campaign for Congress. This is my opinion. And but now he's a committee.
And the opinion of other people also.
Right. And he's, but like most committeemen, they're committeemen without a committee. And there's a lot of hard choices to be made coming up in the next primary when you have a fight for U.S. Senate, a primary potentially against Roland Burris, if he's still the senator, for governor, for county board president. And the only person who really has to endorse in those races and take a stand in every single race is the committeeman. And we'll have to see how he does. But I don't think he thought he'd be committeeman for the next primary in 2010.
Which is why you figure he didn't work the area at all.
That's why he didn't work the area. Right, that's what I said.
He was saving his chips for his congressional
No, he
race.
didn't care, because once he got elected to Congress, he just resigned as committeeman.
So basically, the 50th Ward Democratic Organization is completely deteriorated.
Well, it's deteriorated.
It's still there a little bit.
There's still a bit. Look, every organization is a little bit. All I'm saying is that the problem I think Ira has is that he told one thing to one person, another thing to another person, and now everybody knows what everybody else knows, and we'll just have to see what happens in the future. But it's going to be hard for him to get the organization going. and this is really all inside politics, I have to also say, because when most people voted in November, they did not notice whether or not there was a person passing out a palm card. They did not notice whether there was any signs up or literature. Very few people noticed that. People like myself and yourself and
Yeah, I was in shock when I didn't see signs at the corner near the school.
that are used to working or looking to see what happens on election day. Most people didn't know it. If it wasn't for the fact that he had told the mayor, "I'm going to do this to build up an organization for this result," and then it looks like he's actually doing another result, it wouldn't really make much difference, because most organizations don't have people, and every organization there's less people. And I think we'll see that in the 5th congressional race. I think people are going to look at that and say, okay, which or whatever organizations left from what wards, who can bring people out and who can't. But everyone knows that the era of the precinct captain, the era of organizations is winding down anyway. It was more the fact that he, why he became committeeman to do one thing and then he turned around and did something else. And we'll have to see what happens in the future. Now, again, there's going to be a lot of primary fights coming up.
We're talking about in 10,
right. And now you see Paul Vallis running for county board president as Republican, and then which is interesting because if you have Mark Kirk running as senator.
I know Jim Neely's been his lawyer in the past.
Paul Vallis?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, Paul Vallis is very well known in the south suburbs, always had a lot of support there. What I'm saying is, and this is a time, we can talk about this at another time, you have, if Mark Kirk runs for the senator, you have a popular Republican running from the northern suburbs. Paul Vallis is a popular Republican running from the southern suburbs. And if you have Judy Bart Topinka in the western suburbs, then all of a sudden you have a chance for a Republican U.S. Senator. You have a chance perhaps, and this is still a Democratic state, a chance for a Republican governor or maybe other jobs in which you didn't have until Blagojevich fiasco.
What do you think Topinka's going to run for?
I'm not saying she is going to run for. Again, I don't judge Judy.
I happen to like her.
I'm just saying that
I voted for her. I never voted for Blagojevich.
Okay. All I'm saying is that when you look at the northern suburbs and the southern suburbs of Cook County, if you bring someone and then you have the rest of the ticket from Central, Downstate, or Rockford, Illinois, you might have a good Republican ticket, competitive Republican ticket, which you haven't had in a long time. And of course, we all know that redistricting is coming up right after the next election. So everything's in play. Of course, everything could change a year from now, or even 2 months from now. So we'll have to see what happens. But I also want to talk about that school board meeting that the.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that we. For those of you who aren't familiar, there is a new school that's going to be built on Whipple. And I think we spoke with Alderman Stone about it on the show last week. And Mike Moses, president of the West Ridge Community Council, chaired the meeting, did a very good job. And if you go to our website at www.ntnm.org, you can watch the entire meeting on YouTube. And it's also airing on CAN-TV.
Let me just say there are very few members of the West Ridge Community Organization. And one of those members called me up and said we should have a meeting about the school because people did not know what was going on. And I went to Alderman Stone and I said, listen, the people there want a meeting. He agreed. And let me just say something about West Ridge. We don't, and as I said at the meeting about the school,
excuse me,
at the present time, and I don't think this will change, we don't make public policy. We don't pretend, as some other groups or individuals, to say this is what the people of this community think. We're few members who get together and talk and say, we like to have a meeting about this, like to have a meeting about that. We're trying to be very transparent. We really believe, as when we said when we started it, is to have meetings on YouTube. We'll try to have meetings where people can come and they, if they can't come, they can watch it on their computer. Or they can watch it on YouTube.
We do stuff live to the web. Sonny and I do.
And the first time we did that was Devon and Rockwell, where there was a problem with the parking, and where the residents and the businessmen did not know what to do, and there was a problem. And Alderman Stone came to the meeting, and we were on broadband. I think Sonny did that, and people could email questions, and a couple of people did email questions. And I think the goal is that every time there's a meeting in the 50th Ward, to have it on YouTube and where people can email questions, or broadband where they can instantly mail their questions and be answered right then. That's the future, whether it's these type of meetings or whether it's the beat meetings, however we can work that out, or library meetings or local school council meetings. that's the way it should be. And I'm hoping for the day when everyone just assumes that if there is a local meeting concerning the community, that automatically they'll know it will be on YouTube, or it'll be on some type of broadband where they can watch it and ask questions. It might take a little while for people to realize that, but that's the goal of the people in the group. And also one thing also, when I went to Alderman Stone, I said, we need a DSL in your office, so that when we have a meeting at your office, we can have broadband put on YouTube. He put it in his office. But we had a meeting, and as Avi says, you could watch it. We don't have to go through the meeting again. But certain points came out of that meeting. One, locations on Whipple. I think most people understood that there should be some type of road from Kedzie to Whipple, so there's not that much traffic on Whipple. As Alderman, I think Alderman Stone understood that, and I'm sure he's working on trying to solve that situation. I also said we'll have another meeting, and I believe we should have another meeting, not just to talk about the construction, not only talk about how the road from Kedzie to Whipple, or what other plans are being suggested by the alderman and by the city and by the board and by the community at large. What's the next step, but also what happens here? Who picks the principal? Who picks the teachers? What about preschool classes? What about after-school classes for the community? How can the community help the children in the school? How can the school help the community? I think we should have another meeting. I think we will have another meeting. But again, what we need, and I hope Alderman Stone understands this, what we need is transparency. We need more meetings on this issue and other issues. That's just how people want, and they're right when they want that. And hopefully, I think Alderman Stone understands that, and he'll continue to have these meetings and take the input from the community.
I like it too. One of the reasons, by the way, that I'm one of the few members of the Westridge Community Council is that, and you touched on this point very nicely, the fact is that the other so-called community councils around here, and they are community councils, but they have an objective, they have a point, they're political, and you're just trying to facilitate something in an honest and open manner.
Well, thank you.
And that's set policies, and that's what I like about it.
Well, the other, listen.
It's not an advocacy group.
No, we're not. And we're not advocacy. Look at every group, every volunteer group, the more the merrier. I've always said that. Whether they do anything or not, or whether they have meetings or not, the idea of getting people together to discuss the issues is a great idea. I don't criticize other groups for meeting, because even though a lot of them don't do anything, or they don't meet, they're not under any obligation to meet. They're not under any obligation to produce. The West Rogers Park Community Organization, they put the initiative on the ballot for a community planning board, November 2006. It passed 88 to 89, 90%. They never wrote it. No one's ever written it, I guess, but that's something. But you can't criticize them. They're volunteers. But it's never been written. I'm not going to write it because it's their job to write it. But it's very simple. When they came out with this
they've already dropped the ball.
Well, I called Zach Schiffman up and I said it's very simple. Do what the Northtown Community Council did when we were part of the Northtown Community Council. It's very simple. You have a meeting, you invite the alderman, you pass out notice to make sure everybody knows about the meeting, and let the people decide. I think the reason that they haven't written yet, because they haven't decided at the very end of the day, at the very end of the meeting, who will decide should this zoning be approved or not. Should it be the people? Should it be the alderman? Should it be the group that the West Rogers Park Community Council puts together? Because everything else makes sense. I don't think there's any disagreement. It comes down to the end of the day. I believe the people should decide. When they write the plan, they can say who they think they should decide. It shouldn't just be a group of people that show up and then they'll decide because they're experts. It should be the people decide what the zoning should be. And it's very simple with the zoning. All you have to do, I didn't mean to talk about zoning. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
It's okay. We're running out of time. So.
But all you have to do, and as far as whether people get notified or not, all you have to do is you go down the voter list and you go down the taxpayer list, and there's plenty of lists to make sure everybody gets notified. So I think we have a good group. You're in it, I'm in it, Sonny's in it, other people are in it. I think we care about the community,
And we're not trying to, nobody's trying to ram ideas. The idea is to have an open and honest forum.
right. And whatever decided.
And at this point, if people want to contact you, they contact you at?
Call my law office, 773-508-0100.
773-508-0100. Michael C. Moses, thank you very much for being here, and good luck.
Thank you.